Happy Easter, Sherry.
Thank you.
When this podcast is released, it'll be the day after Easter, which I know that's a little weird for people, for listeners. But hey, for us right now, it's right before Easter.
Mm-hmm.
It is upon us. Easter's a very family-oriented holiday, and as our listeners know, you're a pretty darn family-oriented person.
Yeah.
So my question, are boys who live here with us, 16 years old and 19 years old, are they getting Easter baskets?
Yes.
Is the bunny coming?
Yes.
Oh, even for the burgeoning adults, they get Easter baskets.
Yes.
How about our 21-year-old who's graduating college? He's going to come back and enjoy Easter dinner with us. Does he get a basket too?
Yes. And he has a little special something that the other boys don't in his basket.
How about our daughter in Minnesota?
Yes,
Easter Bunny made it to Minnesota.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, you're such a good mom. That's great. Now, should I be anticipating the Easter Bunny coming for me?
No.
No? Okay, good.
You can just enjoy the Easter dinner.
I like that you're just confirming where your priorities are for me. I didn't want any confusion.
Yeah.
That's great. I hope I get to help hide eggs. I like doing that. We'll see. Maybe I won't. Well, Easter is such a family-oriented holiday, and it's applicable. I want to talk about that for a second, because we have somebody in our Echoes of Recovery group who has a situation she's facing at Easter. Her alcoholic husband, he didn't do any of the things, they're separated. He didn't do any of the things that she said he needs to do to re-engage the family. He didn't take accountability. He didn't process the trauma with her. But he feels the pull of a big family holiday like Easter. And so he asked if he could re-engage. And I'm afraid, and I want to ask this of you, a mama with the mostest, right? I'm afraid that she is going to feel that sense of family too, and that she is going to weaken on her resolve a little bit because she is so loving and kind and empathetic, and Easter is a big family holiday. But if she does, it's just a consequence waiver. It's just sort of a form of enabling. She's got this boundary, and if she waives the boundary, then won't he just do that again and again and again? Isn't it kind of a form of manipulation? What do you think?
I guess for me, if I was in that situation, it would depend on the age of the kids.
Okay.
Whether or not I would let that boundary be waived this one time, I would probably make it very clear that it was just for the children, not for him and not for her. But I think in this particular case, like, it would be really, really, a challenge, because if they have spent many years before having great Easter celebrations and the children were young, you don't want them to be put in the middle and feel like, they're having to choose one parent or another. Mm-hmm. But I think if they're older and she has asked very specifically of some things of him, she can explain to the older kids, like, he wasn't doing the things I've asked for him to do. So I think it's best that we just do our own thing this year, and then maybe next year we'll see how things are going with your father.
I like that you had a multi-layered question, because it's a complex problem.
Yeah.
And she's a listener. I don't want for a second for her to think that we're shaming or guilting her. This stuff is so hard. Mm-hmm. And then you put a big family holiday on top of it, and it becomes even harder. We have a ton of empathy. We love her so much. It's just such a tough situation. Mm-hmm. And so I hope she knows we're going to support her no matter what. As long as her husband doesn't get an Easter basket. If I don't get one, he definitely doesn't get one.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line.
That's true.
Diana Romanov was born and raised in Ukraine and came to the United States by way of Israel and Germany. She's licensed to practice law in both California and Germany, and she has a passion for providing client education resources. She is the author of the 2023 book, Divorce Like a Boss, and she hosts the very robust and informative YouTube channel, Divorce Like a Boss with Diana. One of the things I like most about Diana is that I heard you say that sometimes you lose sleep thinking about something you could have done or something you could have said in court on behalf of your clients. This tells me you really care, and you practice law with compassion and empathy. Diana Romanov, welcome to the Untoxicated Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And as you were saying that, I was like, gee, I actually was falling asleep yesterday with my laptop while my daughter fell asleep and finishing up work at 11 p.m. That's probably toxic. Toxic working environment for myself.
Well,
Bad habit. Bad habit.
that is a way in which you and I can relate to each other, and Sherry too. Drawing those boundaries, those family boundaries, is so hard. Let's get right into understanding the reason for the book and your content-rich YouTube channel. You are a big believer in client education. Why? What does an educated client mean for them, and what does it mean for you?
That's actually the reason why I have my channel. It's empowering to know things that are available. I know with AI we can ask a lot of things, and perhaps sometimes it's hallucinated. So how do we know? And that's why before even AI, 10 years, well, more than 10 years, 2014, I launched my first 10 videos with acting regarding different topics, educational and entertainment.
So you weren't just talking about things, you were acting out scenarios?
So I hired my friends who were actors.
Oh, that's
and
so good.
We pretended that she married someone in Vegas, and she woke up realizing she's hangover and she has a ring, and she would like an annulment.
I love it. Oh my
And
God,
so,
that's great.
and in the video, so each video had that intro, and then she would say, "Hey, Diana, I need annulment," and then I would come in and annulment, and I would talk about annulment. And so that was a series of my first videos, and then it became a little bit more difficult to hire actors and creative videos. So I started doing it in my home office. As I'm sitting here today, it's my home office. And then each time I have a situation with a client where they ask a question that, to me, common sense, I know, not common sense, but it's legally something I know. And I'm realizing, oh, that's a good idea for a YouTube. And so then I turn on my camera, do a YouTube, 10 minutes. And so I created a educational platform where people can, it's not legal advice, disclaimer, it's more educational. So I have a 17-minute video about spousal support. Who would pay 17 minutes to a lawyer to listen to spousal support? It's so boring to pay for it. But if it's free and you're driving in the car and you're stuck in traffic, why not, right? Saving money, saving time.
But a greedier version of you would want to bill that 17 minutes to explain. But it seems to me that you prefer working with a client that comes in with some of that base level education. Why is that? Why do you like that?
Gosh, first, the part of me is, at some point, money is not that important, where I feel so privileged to be able to speak to people and not to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So I prefer not to burn out saying the same thing every time, every day. So educating clients makes them potentially, hopefully, partners. When they call me and they watch the videos, they already know, and with help of AI and with help of the educational videos, they already know the basics. So I don't need to go to say 300 times yet again another. So we're talking about their specific situation, their specific needs, their strategy, and that challenge, that makes me excited. That's to resolve their particular situation. And I learned and I taught myself to come from a place of abundance. So
I love that.
When people are watching me who cannot afford a lawyer, they're creating subscribers. People who are watching me can afford a lawyer, then they would call me because they're listening and thinking to themselves, gosh, this is so boring. I don't want to calculate spousal support myself. Yeah, she told me that, but I would like her to do it. And nowadays, 20 years ago, attorneys weren't online and you couldn't see that it was in the yellow book, and you would just pick a lawyer and call, and then you have this. Right. So now the generation we're in, everyone wants to see, how is this person interacting? What type of emotions? What type of intelligence? What type of personality? Who are they? They're going to be my partner in crime, partner in attorney-client relationship could be 9 months, 2 years, 5 months. It's a relationship. Who do I want to engage? And now the time became such a important piece, more than money, that relationship, who are we going to interact with, is more important and quality than picking the cheapest attorney.
I love that you view it as a partnership. But be careful. You're going to ruin the stigma associated with lawyers. You're going to give lawyers a good name if you keep talking about it as a partnership.
That was my mission. I remember crying to my therapist when I was in law school, and I said to the therapist, I don't want to be like these guys. I don't like that. And he said to me something that stuck. He said, you can be the lawyer with the heart.
Love it.
I was like, oh, that's what I want to be.
That's great. I have to ask, are those initial acting Las Vegas annulment videos, are they still available online?
Yeah. I cannot access that channel anymore, but those 10 videos was acting from 2014 in my old name, Diana Romanovska, are still there.
Okay.
I wish I could merge them into one account, but
I'm going to look for them. That sounds like entertainment. Mm-hmm. Diana, what tips do you have for someone who is considering the should I stay or should I go question? Do they need to start like documenting communication, documenting signs of emotional abuse, negligence, alcohol consumption, all of that? Do they need to put their investigator hat on, before they call you?
Part of me is breathing in and translating the message, transferring the message to the listener. Breathe in. You don't need to become an investigator. Get clarity. Get clarity about the financial picture. Get all the financial records in place. Do not rush to make a decision, because it's going to be, as getting married is one of the most important decisions in life, getting divorced could be the same. Get everything on the table. Start documenting the schedule with the children. Documenting your feelings and behaviors from the spouse. Document retirement accounts, investment accounts. A lot of the time I get clients who don't understand even what the other spouse has. 25 years of marriage. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're walking out with nothing because the other spouse incurred so much debt that they didn't know about, on prostitutes or some activities that they didn't know about or suspected. But anyway, the point is, whether you're considering getting divorced or not, I think knowledge, education is power. Knowing where the finances stand, knowing as much knowledge as possible, getting into this process will help to be more empowered to make conscious decisions.
I love that. So your passion for education goes beyond learning from your resources. It's learn your situation too. Understand what you've got going on. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't love is when people are vague. Your title, Diana, it's a little confrontational. Divorce like a boss. And I love that. It gets people's attention. But I want to ask, on a serious note, what is the key to a successful divorce? Is it a situation where there's amicable mediation, or is it confrontational fearlessness? What approach works best?
Divorce like a boss, and I keep repeating that, and every time I get a chance, the credit goes to my husband, who, when I created my first book, I wanted to call it, and the book is right here, you can see the pink one.
Oh, yes.
The title I created was The Guide to Divorce. And I was like, what do you think about that? He's like, boring. You sound like just another lawyer. That's not you. You are divorced like a boss, woman. And so I was like, isn't it, yeah, you're right. And pink. So we got a suit, we got the cover, we got the title.
It is stunning, I have to say. It's good stuff. Good marketing.
Yes, by accident.
That's great. You know, our first ebook is titled Guide to Early Sobriety. I feel like we should change that to Early Sobriety Like a Boss and put me in a pink suit.
Yes.
That would be good. Okay.
Edition
we might copy
2026, and I get the credit.
Yeah.
Actually, that's my husband.
That's right. Our new friend Deanna's husband gets the credit. I love it.
So boss doesn't mean aggressive. This is where being in charge, being in the driver's seat, making conscious decisions, being a leader of self comes in. Boss means I am informed and making conscious decisions in my divorce. And the lawyer is not someone, there are those type of lawyers who probably have been doctors in another life, where they treat their clients as if they're asleep or in the operation table, cannot talk, and make decisions for them, send emails for them. Maybe they have a strategy, but then they just do it on their own. And a lot of clients come to my office and they say, I would like to change lawyers because they sent this email and I never agreed to it. I never agreed to this deal. And they decided what's good for me without talking to me. And that's not me. I tend to email opposing side with my client's approval. So almost every email I send to my client, this is what they sent, and this is my proposed email to them, and then list everything out. Let me know if you have any changes. And more often than not, clients do have some changes, and they feel empowered by including them in this process. Every single email, I blind copy my client. Why? Because the billing, they would like, not just the billing, but they would like to see what's going on, and they understand the billing. And they understand the process, and they're involved. And so I fire clients if they're not involved. In fact, just yesterday, I sent a very long email to a client and said, you hired me for this trial that's happening in a month. I asked you for the list of questions. I'm out in 2 days if I don't get it, because I would like you to be as invested as I am in this matter.
Yeah, it's got to be terrible feeling to go into court unprepared because, the communication on your own side of the fence is a challenge. I love that empowerment piece. When I was trained on trauma-informed care, one of the crucial pieces I took from that is someone who's experienced trauma, they need empowerment. They need to be part of their own decision-making. They need to be part of their own, like if it's somebody who has suffered to the point where they need help bathing, they need to decide when bath time is. They need to be a participant in the decision making. You don't just walk in and treat them like they don't have any say in things. And that empowerment piece, that goes back to your partnership piece when you talked about how you view the attorney-client relationship as a partnership. That's good stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I prefer to have constant communication. Even with my team, I have this app called Voxer. So we work in different locations. And we talk to each other maybe 15, 20 times a day through a walkie-talkie on little things. And so that translates also in my way of communicating with clients. We bounce ideas. I am a human. I have many ideas. But at the end of the day, the client is the one who needs to live with the consequences of every decision we make during this divorce process. Whether they waive spousal support and decide to be bought out, let's say they don't want 10 years of spousal support. They want it now at 50% discount so that they can leave to another country. When they come to me and say, what should I do? Well, I tend not to give them an answer. I give them options and flip side to every option so that they start learning, developing a muscle that maybe they didn't have because they married too young and the spouse made all the decisions, developing a muscle to start feeling what feels right for them.
Oh, love that.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, do you ever see clients who you believe haven't fully exhausted the chance of a reconciliation, or have you ever recommended clients that they maybe try to give their marriage another try? I
actually had a client who thanked me later when she came to my office crying many years ago. she said the marriage feels it's falling apart. And I said, well, are you sure you want the divorce? And she said, no, I am not. So then we talked more and decided to wait a month to see if maybe legal separation would be something. And he ended up filing for divorce first. So that was that. But she was very appreciative that she felt that it was different than she experienced in other offices where, the end stop, file now. So there's always that piece of hope that maybe it will work out. But if I notice that my client is in a very toxic relationship where they're being abused, I tell them.
Just really honest. So do you think that sometimes when you maybe see people dragging their feet about getting information, or they're just kind of slow with the process, that's when you maybe want them to kind of decide for themselves, but you kind of help pull out those questions like a therapist? You pull out those questions like, do you think this is right? And so maybe a legal separation versus just going right for the divorce is.
They usually tell me I'm not ready, or he or she wants a divorce, but I don't want the divorce. So I give them all the options and the flip side and what it means if they wait. Let's say if they're a higher earner and they wait, that means more spousal support, more child support, not more child support, but more money to divide, more, so they can make a decision for themselves. And then there's those clients who are dragging their feet, not because they don't want the divorce, but because they're in denial about the divorce and about the fact that they need to do certain things, disclosures, get orders in place, temporary spouse support, child support. So those clients I can't reach. So I give them sometimes months of time to come to the table. And then unfortunately, if they don't, then I don't like to be with dormant situation. Because then if the discovery hits and they're unavailable, then that's going to be a problem.
So many things to weigh, so difficult. In the United States, Diana, 70% of divorces now are initiated by women. Does that statistic match with your experience? And to what do you attribute so many dissatisfied wives? Is there a common thread in there?
I actually did a video about it. I feel like women tend to carry a lot of emotional, physical weight in carrying the home, arranging family vacations, family meetings, caring for the children, driving them, caring for the family, and on top of that, also working full-time. And there is a cultural stigma as well, where women are expected to do certain things that men are not, and it wears off. It wears off, and usually women tend to stay longer and longer, and they don't leave because of one thing. When they decide to leave, it's because of everything. Just piled up, where they're just, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And when woman says that, no way back. No way back.
Okay, so in that scenario, do you often find that the woman's recollection of it is, I've been telling you about this all along, and the man says, I've never heard about this.
And man, I am so surprised. Women usually tell weekly, daily, and then the man acts as if it's the first time. Like, really? You want, how? First time. And that's denial. That's denial. That's too bad. Too late. Yeah.
Denial. And we've never been accused of having particularly good listening skills as a gender overall. So it's surprising how, or it's not surprising how the divorce word can get our attention more than anything else.
Hearing or interpreting what you want to hear is the way I like to
We're
say
good at that.
Listening or lack of listening skills.
Let's talk about child custody a little bit. Is it, like, my understanding of the legal system is mostly made up in my own head, so I need some clarification here. Is 50-50 custody, is that really a starting point? And from there, do people have to prove things like neglect or abuse to shift away from that even split? And think about this from the perspective of the majority of our audience has experienced an alcoholic relationship. So is that abusive drinking? Is that the kind of thing that would move away from a 50-50 split?
The presumption is that it is in the best interest of the children, to have consistent contact with both parents. The reason for that is because it assumes that both parents are healthy and fit to be good parents.
Okay.
Now, when it's not, then the presumption is shaken. Let's say one parent has alcohol issues, yelling problems, abusive behavior towards the other parent in front of the child. All the factors that come in to shake what would be best for the child would shift, or the schedule. It could be a fit parent, but that parent travels a lot, not available. Fit parent, however, needs to travel, works 65 hours a week, unavailable for the child to pick up from school or being there for the weekend. So in family cases, when someone is seeking temporary custody, whether it's 50-50 or 100%, it automatically triggers so-called family court services, where both parents are going to mediation without lawyers. And whether it's recommending county, where the mediator is going to make a binding recommendation to the judge, or non-recommending county, they get to speak to the mediator, offer their schedule, offer their holiday schedule and vacation schedule, how they see the custody and visitation will work. And the first question the mediator would ask each parent: what is your work schedule? And what are your concerns about the other parent? And that's how they shape the recommendation. And I have seen reports, so it goes about 7 pages. The first 6 pages is, this is what father said, this is what mother said, and this is my recommendation. And sometimes I see when there is an allegation of domestic violence, whether it has been filed or not, the mediator would say, if there is a finding of domestic violence, so leaving it up to the court, then I suggest supervised visitation and every other weekend without overnight from X to X. If there is no finding, then joint legal custody 2-3 schedule, which is the typical suggestion for consistent contact, so that each parent can see the child 2 days, and then weekend, and then alternate.
Would that kind of caveat exist in the case of abusive drinking, alcoholism as well? If there is a finding, leaving it up to the court to decide whether the person drinks too much or not?
Usually what happens is one parent says, look, I have seen this other parent drinking, and I'm worried that they are going to be driving with a child in the car, or they're not going to be able to take care of the child because they're too drunk and the child is too little. So if that allegation is made credibly and the court finds that there is a concern, there are many, many options to deal with this. Number one order would be no alcohol around the child, period. Mm-hmm. Another one is sober link. I like technology. So SoberLink is an app and a device where before each visitation, the parent who is drinking would be breathing in that. SoberLink will send a notification if the test is good, if the parent is sober. And so the court would order before each visit, the parent would need to use SoberLink. Another thing I had where one parent accused the other parent and the other parent accused the other parent. And so what the judge said, both of you, parents, have to go random, full panel, supervised urine test. The court is not allowed to do follicle test, but urine test.
Okay.
And so what happened is they hated each other so much. They bought So they had wine glasses and they had the visitation over Zoom with the children. And to sort of trick the other parent to get triggered, they would drink red juice. What was it?
Like grape juice?
Like grape juice and pretend it's a wine.
Oh my goodness.
And then I would get phone calls. She's violating the order. She is drinking. And I would email and they would send me a list of Amazon that she bought the grape juice before, a day or two before, and it got delivered. I don't know if it was a wine or not. But then they would also, because it's random testing, so they would drink right after the test because it's one weekly. So after the test, they would drink and then until next week. Anyway, there is no secure way, I feel like, other than maybe SoberLink, unless there is a way, a loophole. But I'm not going to talk about that in this podcast. But the point is, yes, there are ways to make sure that children are safe.
We alcoholics, we tend to we're pretty creative with the ways we work to keep alcohol in our lives. It's interesting you mentioned SoberLink. They're actually a sponsor of ours, and we're going to acknowledge our sponsor in just a minute. But you said you like tech tools. The other tech tool I'm curious about that we see in use a lot, and I don't want to tell you my opinion. I want to hear your opinion. These co-parenting communication apps, because people can get pretty nasty to each other over the phone or over text. But when you use a co-parenting communication app where all of the communication is recorded and court admissible, does that lower the temperature? Do people tend to be more respectful? What do you think of those tools?
I, as a lawyer going to trial often, I like that tool because when you send a message on the phone and you have a text and there is a three or more text in the screen and you screenshot it, then you don't see the date. You don't see the time because then you have to swipe a little bit so you can see the time. But then you only see the date but not the year. Also, you don't see if the other parent read it. You also don't see if it was delivered. And so for evidence purposes, I like these tools like our Family Wears or Talking Parent app where when they print it, I can see, this message was sent and it's on white paper. It's not on black, so it doesn't consume a lot of ink and it looks clean where I can see the date, the time, read by the other parent, whether it was responded to or not, and when, and it's all printable version. In terms of whether people tend to be nicer with each other over these parenting apps, I would hope so because they know this is something that can be printed out as easy. Text message can be also used in evidence, but this is more supervised sort of type of way to communicate, and they know.
The other thing it does is you have to go to a different app. You text people all day, so it's part of your norm. But to go to the communication app specific for your co-parenting situation, it's another step. And I like to think myself, as someone who gets triggered into anger sometimes, that would be a good reminder. Hey, you're going someplace else. This is the place where we remain calm. So hopefully it has that effect. I'm a big fan of that technology you mentioned as well. Deanna, hang on just a second. We're going to acknowledge our sponsors, and then we'll come back to you to talk about the cost of winning. We are sponsored by SoberLink. SoberLink is the premier alcohol monitoring system combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate design to support accountability and recovery in family law. It's the top-of-the-line handheld breathalyzer. Today we are talking about divorce. In marriages where drinking is a problem and there are kids involved, divorce is not the end. Co-parenting communication must continue. We've seen lots of cases where the communication is good and lots of cases where the communication is mean-spirited and trauma-inducing. One major way to make the best of a co-parenting situation with effective communication and peace for the kids is by including SoberLink in the co-parenting plan.
SoberLink is not just a handheld breathalyzer you can buy at the drugstore or on the internet, a cheapy one that breaks or gives unreliable results. SoberLink's best-in-class service and product combination includes built-in facial recognition and tamper detection, expert in-house support, emailed weekly, daily, or monthly reporting that's court admissible in all 50 states and Canada, unlimited testing days, and scheduled testing to build accountability and trust. SoberLink is the right tool for verifying that our need for a sober partner or our need for a sober co-parent are being met. SoberLink provides accountability, peace of mind, and clarity to help us thrive.
Right now, SoberLink is offering Untoxicated podcast listeners a free offer ID valid for a $100 enrollment bonus. Go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
Claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus. There's no commitment required to claim your offer ID while this promotion lasts. And you can use your $100 enrollment bonus when you're ready to place your order. To claim your offer ID, you will only be asked to provide your name and email address. No other personal details, no commitment, no credit card number. To claim your offer ID for your $100 enrollment bonus, please go to soberlink.com/untoxicated.
That is soberlink.com/untoxicated. The Untoxicated podcast is part of a 501c3 nonprofit research organization.
We learn from you, our listeners, and especially our Shout Sobriety and Echoes of Recovery think tank participants. And we share with you what we learn. It is a partnership. You are the student and the teacher. You get a sense of belonging, and there's nothing more important to your understanding about the impact of addiction and emotional abuse than hearing from you about your instincts.
Right now, we are trying to learn more about your experiences with emotional safety and the opposite of emotional safety, emotional abuse. What role do your instincts play in navigating that? Whether you're wondering if you have experienced emotional abuse in your relationship, or you're wondering if you are the person with the reactive behavior, and that could be disrupting your family's sense of emotional safety. Either way, we have a confidential, easy-to-take survey ready to help you better understand what you've experienced. Our survey will only take a minute or two to complete, and as I said, we will hold your response in strict confidentiality.
Please go to untoxicatedsurvey.org to take the survey. As a thank you for participating in our research, we will share helpful resources, including a free ebook, and we'll respond to you and share our feedback on your experiences.
We respond to each and every survey response directly and confidentially. We offer to meet with you, a 30-minute free conversation, absolutely free. We learn more about your situation, and if it feels like a good fit, we invite you to join us to learn and share and grow and evolve.
Free resources, including a free ebook, free feedback from us, and a free conversation with people who truly get it. Listen to your instincts and take our survey.
Please go to untoxicatedsurvey.org.
All right, so back, and I am curious about the cost of winning. So when your clients come to you with a laundry list of what they want to get from the state settlement, how do you help them understand what's reasonable and what's just a wish list?
We talk about what is more important to them. In custody, there is no cost element, I feel. When children are involved and the parent is concerned about safety, they will go bankrupt if need be to get to safe place with the children. When it comes to money, then it's much more straightforward conversation. You will not spend $30,000 to get $30,000. That's an easy answer. And what is the cost opportunity? If someone makes $1 million a year and they're tied up in court for 6 months with discovery trials to pay the other spouse a couple $100,000 more, they're losing by not making money, potentially risking their job. So these type of conversations we have, and so we look at cost of winning, how much will it cost to win, cost of losing, opportunity cost, and emotional toll. Sometimes I had a client who said, I would rather pay my soon-to-be ex-wife who committed assault, criminal assault, who he didn't have to pay spousal support as a victim of domestic violence. He said, I don't want to go through trial. I would rather pay her, $20,000 a month in spousal support for 10 years than go through that trial. Against my advice, I have to say it on the record. And a year later, he regretted it. So the fear of going to trial, we have to consider everything and be very clear about what are the weaknesses of the case, what are the emotional weaknesses of the client, potentially not wanting to go to trial over some issues. I mean, if that client succeeded, which 99.9% sure he would, then he would have saved 10 years of how many millions of dollars. But for him, he felt, this is the mother of my children, I'm going to stick to it.
I got to imagine divorce is such an emotional thing. You probably have clients that just want it to be over with, want to move on with the next chapter of their life, and that has to factor in to how you approach the settlement. And then you've probably got clients who really want to stick it to this person who's hurt them. You have to have a great deal of empathy and patience and compassion to navigate that, yes?
I tend to unpack those type of clients with that type of thinking because I see the end result very quickly. They don't see it. There was fuming in their mouths saying how much they want to stick it and money doesn't matter and they want to go after. But I'm already hearing that. I'm already exhausted because I'm not participating in that. No. So what I do tell them is, first of all, it's going to backfire. It is going to backfire. Judges don't like litigious clients. They can be declared vexatious litigants out of the court's own motion, not even requiring the other side to do that. So there are rules around it. I'm not going to bore you with rules. But the point is, those are not the type of clients I would support. Unless I have a way to connect to the compassionate piece about why they're doing that. And once I know, if she cheated, that's not enough. When I say why, I'm talking about what's the end goal? Is the means worth, and still after I find the root cause, we can work with that instead of going after destroying the other spouse. Because usually the other spouse is either mother or father of the children. And then you got to be friends. And I woke up this morning thinking how great that my first divorce was so peaceful because now 10 years later, we can be friends again. And I value that more than whatever I could have gotten through litigation.
Yeah, that's a great point. The divorce process is one of the most emotional things people will ever go through, and making rash decisions in the moment out of spite, they're going to have long-term repercussions. It's going to haunt you forever, potentially.
It brings me back to when I'm dying and I'm looking back at my life and I say, well, I wished I did litigation and got $3 million more. No. No, I think I would say, I'm glad we have been able to connect. We have been able to be friends and experience certain things that I will remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Let's talk about AI for a minute. You have heard for years from doctors that MedMD, for instance, was frustrating because people would go to the internet and they would type in their symptoms and then they go to the doctor and tell the doctor, this is what I have, this is what I have. You're experiencing that to some degree now in the divorce industry. People can use AI tools to get an education. I'm wondering, do you see AI, is that a positive? Is that a negative? A little bit of both? And are we looking at digital divorces as a thing in the future?
I'm a big believer of technology, and I think it's, if used consciously with good intentions, not abused, not creating vexatious litigants, not creating not abused in other words, but if created and used in a way that is what it's designed for, to help being more efficient, I noticed 99% of my clients writing me emails from AI. And less errors, more emotional balance in the way they write, because AI filters, they can say to AI whatever they feel, but then it comes out more polished, which I appreciate. And AI also created informed self-litigants. Yes, hallucinations happen still, but maybe in a year it won't. And people are more empowered to defend themselves. Again, this is similar with alcohol. I don't know if there are people out there who can manage their alcohol, but everything in excess is a problem. So if someone is abusing AI to harass, to file frivolous lawsuits, that's not good. Yeah. So I feel AI made my life much easier in terms of receiving these emails, and also I can run through AI and sort of structure my thoughts much more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Is digital divorce a next step? Will divorce be self-serve through the computer someday? I know I'm asking you to predict the demise of your own career. I'm sorry, but you understand the question.
Yeah. If I took myself out of it, if I'm operating from a place of abundance, then I would say yes. I would say that AI would replace the nitty-gritty filling out the forms, dividing assets where people can just drop and say, we don't need a CPA forensic to divide our assets, do post-separation accounting, do marital standard of living. Oh, this is what I need. Drop it, create it, 5 minutes, $5,000 less than someone would pay. I do think there is this one human element that is missing. And people prefer to connect. People like people. People don't. Yes, there is a saving money piece. But someone needs to supervise it. I think the type of lawyers who don't use AI, they will not exist anymore. They're just going to be extinguished. But the type of lawyers who know how to use AI, know how to supervise AI, and still have the way relate to people and connect to people, those lawyers are going to be even more valuable.
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool. I think if you don't view it as the enemy, but you use it as you have adopted it, you've embraced it, I think that makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you're just in denial, like a lot of the people are in denial about the situation they're in. I love that. Okay, I think this is something you and I have in common. Let me test this. I hate the traditional wedding vows. Things like in sickness and in health and in death, till death do us part. They get weaponized. I have the disease of alcoholism and you promised to stay in sickness, or till death do us part, and I noticed you're not dead yet, or I'm not dead yet. You're breaking your vow. I think the only wedding vow should be, if you ever stop treating me with the respect I deserve, I'm going to divorce your ass. I think that's what the wedding vow should be. What is your advice for people entering a marriage as it relates to not just the wedding? Oh, there we go.
We're back.
Welcome back. What's your advice for people entering marriage as it relates to a prenuptial agreement? Should they lay out not just the financial piece, but also the emotional ground rules in advance? What do you think of the wedding vows?
I feel it's like one day at a time.
Ooh.
One day, one moment at a time. There is nothing than it is now. Right now, how am I I choose to stay married every single moment. It's not like I'm thinking about it all the time, but it's a relationship moment by moment by moment. And maybe the way that disrespect felt 10 years ago is not the same as it feels now. We change, we evolve. You know, I remember how my parents interacted with each other. That was totally acceptable. When I look at it, if I had a camera to look back and see how they interacted, I would be, holy moly, this is toxic. And it changes. So I feel the vow should be, we choose each other moment by moment, and we treat each other how we allow each other to treat each other.
Oh, I love that. One of the people in one of our groups, she talks about how marriage should be more of a lease situation instead of a buy situation. You have to be constantly renewing your commitment to each other.
Yeah. Like every 5 years.
A 5-year lease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. I've been curious about like the gender component. So, you know, divorce leads to a lot of feelings, a lot of hurt and anger. And sometimes, a little bit from my own experience of family members, there seems to be this vengeance and they get kind of mean with one another. Do you find that it's mostly men or women that seem to get more vengeful, or is it just situational?
In terms of gender, I think I would focus on upbringing more than gender, because it's the root cause of creating a specific type of pattern is replication, usually of childhood dynamics. Someone who was raised in a childhood parenting, interacting with each other in a toxic way, feels totally familiar, normal. And then they meet someone who is completely the opposite, who was sheltered, who was not raised with conflict. The parents would go into the other room and have their conflict there. And so then there is a clash. And usually people who are raised this specific way in the first place tend to attract similar type of dynamics so that they feel familiar and comfortable. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just what they are used to. And then the couple will make an agreement, what it's okay, what's not okay. And it's their choice how they would like to interact. Some couples thrive on teasing each other all the time. That's not my cup of tea. I just get insulted listening to it. But they thrive and they smile and they, this passive aggressive type of way that I perceive that way. They don't.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me the degree to which our childhood experiences inform our adulthood, the way we show up. And I think that's undervalued. I really appreciate your answer that you think that's so important.
Yeah, and I guess I was kind of curious because of earlier in the conversation, we talked about how the women mostly have been relaying a message of I need help, I need this. And the men are totally surprised that their wife is divorcing them because it's the first time they've heard it. So I didn't know if maybe the resentment over time builds up a little bit more anger and vengeance and the hurt. Because I know for me, I retaliate when I get hurt.
Yeah.
Especially in the drinking days.
I know that for you too.
Yes, you know that for me too. So, yes, I appreciate that.
Diana, how have things changed for you over the years that you've practiced law and advised clients? Have the experience you've had, have they changed your perspective on anything in particular?
As I get older, I get much wiser. When people come to me and they want to file things, to fight things, just in the last hour, I had a client who had an emergency consultation because the spouse came into their house and created a conflict involving children about financials. It was out of the blue. And I noticed the difference between a newbie and an experienced attorney. A newbie will over-litigate. And that's where the hourly rate comes in. When people hire a newbie and over-litigate, they spend more than picking someone more experienced who has been around the block and knows how over-litigation can tend to backfire. Or there's always two surprise. There's always surprise where the judge doesn't decide the way the law seems to look like. Just, I've been surprised many times. So I tend to find creative solutions that doesn't necessarily involve high conflict litigation. Because at the end of the day, they have to parent. And filing an ex parte, filing a restraining order is not always the solution.
That really brings us back to your first answer about partnership. You're not viewing this as a cutthroat endeavor. You're viewing this as, let's choose the path with the most potential for success, keeping everybody in mind. I really love that perspective. Deanna, this is fantastic. I want to join you. You said off the top, I want to remind our listeners that this is education. This is not to be construed as legal advice. Listeners, we hope that you'll check out Deanna's valuable resources. You can Google Divorce Like a Boss, and you'll find her book titled Divorce Like a Boss and her Divorce Like a Boss with Deanna YouTube channel. She gives the kind of practical advice and shares real life experience that can make the idea of pursuing divorce less scary and far less daunting. Education does that for us. So share her resources far and wide, and you can start by sharing this podcast episode with anyone you know who might be in need of help navigating a potential divorce. Did you hear something today that is valuable to you? Please support Stigma, the 501c3 organization that brings you the Untoxicated podcast. We know you're listening on your phone. Why not make a donation to @MattSalis on your Venmo app with the last four digits, 1412. We are a 501c3 fully tax-deductible organization, and $10 is great. That's @MattSalis, SALIS, with the last four, 1412. Or go to supportuntoxicated.org. And while you've got your phone open, how about taking that survey? Untoxicatedsurvey.org. Click radio buttons to help us learn what you've been through. Thank you for listening to the Untoxicated podcast. You've got this, and we've got you.